Yeah.
I'm not sure what was going on with that generation of fathers, né?
Sure.
But they left a huge scar in the child in us. It says a lot that we have a lot of responsibility, especially as fathers, to make sure that we preserve the male seed. I think.
And after facing your worst enemies, you need to make sure that you face your fears, because there are a lot of things that we are scared of simply because of our background. Greetings, family. My name is Kagiso Malepe. Of course, I'm influencing the influencers to reach their maximum potential. Welcome to Leadership Perspective with me, Kagiso. Wow. We have got this amazing guest. You know, I love to hear leaders' perspective. About their journey. Tell us about their challenges and how they conquer them and how they deal with them. We want to know the lessons they've learned in their journey. And today we have got this wonderful entrepreneur. He's a speaker. Hey, he's a man of many hats. For this man, he's just all over. You talk business, he's there. You talk leadership, he's there. However, he's a man with an excellent spirit. Sanele Msibi, welcome to Leadership Perspective.
Thank you, Leadership. It's a great honor to be in this platform.
Yes, on the same note, you can greet our family.
Greetings, family. It's nice to be here. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be sitting next to this wonderful man of God.
Sir, tell me, how was 2023 for you? You know, everybody's complaining about, year-end fatigue.
Yes.
So how was 2023 for you?
2023 for me, it was very challenging because I think it started off because of growth.
Okay.
There were a lot of challenges that we experienced, and then so it was a challenging year. I wouldn't say it was a bad year, but it was a challenging year, of which we had many challenges that we had to overcome. So, yeah, that's all I can say. It was a challenging year, but by the grace of God, we've managed to pull through.
Can how we or we business we
just to put it into perspective, I usually now I've learned this thing that it's no longer about me. Everything that I do is about we. When I say we, I'm referring to my wife, I'm referring to my family, I'm referring to business, I'm referring to my employees, I'm referring to people that I lead, my mentees. So yeah, that's why I'm saying we.
Someone said, a leader always says we when he has achieved something or the organization has achieved something. I have done this. We. So yes. So what can you tell me about leadership? What is your understanding of leadership?
My understanding of leadership is broad in a sense. A leadership is about providing direction. Okay. It's about providing solutions. That's what leadership is for me. I think leadership it's not merely about titles or some positions that we have to occupy first, but it's more about occupying the role that you have and giving clarity, giving direction, and coming up with solutions. Because I think we live in a world where there's so many problems, but very few people are solution orientated. So leadership, it's about being solution driven.
Solution driven.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are solution driven? I want you to tell us about Sihle Investment Consulting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because you are bringing solutions. What are you working with? The reason why I'm starting is because I'm interested in the story of how it was born.
Yeah, that's quite a story because you know how it was born, but I think it's good that we narrate it so that people can also understand it. So just to answer your question, because I think your question was more on what is it that we do.
Yeah.
So Sihle Investment Consulting, it's a consulting firm. We've got business accountants. We've also got financial planners in the business.
Sure.
So we provide financial solutions in a sense. So we also do training because, like I said, we've got a lot of offerings that we are giving there, but mostly it's around finances. Yeah. Can I drink the? Because
it's okay.
it sounds like now Now we are going.
Tell us about how it started, because I'm interested in the story. Remember, some of our viewers are going through a lot.
Yeah.
Some of them, we are where we are because of our parents. We are where we are because of the government, this and that. But your story, it's very inspiring. So, yes.
I think let's start it when I completed my tertiary education.
Sure.
Okay, I started to work for one of the big banks in South Africa. And then things were going well, from your firstborn, from a disadvantaged background, things are looking up for you. Now you're suddenly working. So I worked at the bank for about 2-3 years.
Sure.
And then everything just started to crumble. When I say crumble, I was fired at the bank.
Okay.
I was let go because of sometimes when you go through challenges, even your performance at work, it becomes affected. Because at that time in my life, I was experiencing a lot of things because all this trauma that I had while I was growing up, it was bottled up inside of me. So it led to me taking bad decisions in a sense that it would result to me being let go of my job. So
Pila Orare, you had childhood traumas.
Yeah, I had childhood traumas, man, because I'm someone who grew up not knowing the biological father.
Why everybody like almost everybody tells you about grew up without their father, trauma. Everybody
I'm not sure what was going on with that generation of fathers.
Sure.
But they left a huge scar in the child in us, you see, because when you grow up, you see other children with their fathers, you've got questions, but then now no one is giving you the answers to the questions that you are asking. So you always have these questions, you understand? And then when you start growing up, you hear stories from family members, then, so it confuses you further as a child. So I grew up not knowing the guy. But then now when it was around that time when I finished my tertiary education that I got to know his family. And then when I found out who he was, I was told that he had already passed on. He passed on in 1998. Yes, 1998. So I've never met him before in my life.
So no memories?
No memory, next.
Yeah.
Zilch, nada.
Sure. So no or qualify then you or Spani. On this big bank, and now childhood traumas.
Yeah, I wanna and also the lack of financial education as well. Because now you're exposed to debt. I remember I had a credit card of 30,000 rands. I was given loans left, right, and center. So I took bad financial decisions.
Okay.
And then that led me to spiral down further in my performance at work. And then they tried to put me on performance review, but by that time already, even also the friends that I was keeping, we used to drink a lot, party a lot, even when it's time to go to work, you would come back late and then go to work, you are babalas, all those sort of things.
Yeah.
So that's when I think my life was just heading in the wrong direction.
And now go chalate
Okay. And things changed because I was a commission earner at the bank. Okay. So now because you have to put in effort for you to get paid, but now because of you're focused on these other things, then now the performance drops. It means also even the money, the income drops. So when income drops, but then now you've got these huge debts that you have to take care of. You've got these family responsibilities that you have to go. So then pressure now kicks in.
Sure.
You see, so I think also that also pushed me further to say now I'm in financial distress. I don't know what to do now. I'm let go, and then I remember my manager put me on performance review. Said, "Man, you have to do this and this by this time. If you don't achieve 1, 2, 3, then we're gonna have to let you go." And unfortunately, I was let go on 2016, and by that time I already had a child.
Okay.
My son was about 8 months old when I lost my job at the bank. So I think now that pushed me further into I would call it depression or stress or too much pressure. That led me now to look for solutions that I thought maybe would relieve the pain that I was going through, because I started drinking a lot. I was introduced to smoking, with the daga, smoking.
Yeah, da. Yeah. Okay.
Blind. So,
Yeah.
but I think that was just a phase in my life. I found myself in, but when I look back, it took grace from God for me to come out of that situation.
Okay, sharp. So you are working well, and now when you are working well, dilo dia tlhakatlhakana in the process, then the bank lets you go, so you get into depression.
You get into depression. Now, you had a car, you're staying comfortably, but now you lose your car. I remember I lost my car. I lost, everything that I had. Now, remember, because Kolo name for confidence, because
So no confidence in
confidence, yeah, low. I was even afraid to go cut taxi.
Sure.
Because even though I go taxi, but and then a Kolo guy. Can't they during the day, they're like asking, man, how you miracle on Kachek? Living, all these questions, like you try to lie, you try to cover up, but ultimately they see, right, man, something is wrong with this boy, you see, and then that pushes you further into depression, because now you don't want to go out, you don't want to be seen in public, you don't want to socialize, you just want your own space, always indoors, always thinking a lot, how am I going to provide for my son? Now all these things, it comes back, because I one thing that I told myself is that I don't want to be the same father that my father was to me. So I just wanted to be a better father to my son. So, sure. But now, because I don't have the means to provide for him, so that knocked my confidence even worse, you see. So yeah, that was a very, very dark place in my life.
So you better worse because you want to do the opposite of what your
father is.
Sure.
But then now it seems as if the situation is pulling you. It's against what you want to achieve. So that it's not nice to experience.
So now you are there. It's a mess. So how tlhakatlhakane yalo, where was the turning point? Like,
I think the turning point, I remember there was this one time, because I grew up in church, man. I remember I grew up in church, but at that point in time, nearly I think I had 2-3 years inside church at all. But then now there was this other time I was crying at night. I was crying like, what, I'm tired of going through this thing, And then I remembered the prayers while I was still very young, I believe.
Sunday
Sunday school.
The first time I came to your church, Sunday school, and I was preaching.
I remember that time. Yeah. That was the first time you came to preach at our church. Yeah. I was go Sunday school. I even said, hey, today I'm not going to Sunday school. Why Naki was Sunday school? Yeah. So I remember those prayers that I prayed. I remember I used to, when I grew up, I wanted to be an accountant. Sure. I prayed. I remember even my pastor, when I was growing up, he said, you must pray, you must, plant seed. Prayer is an investment. Sure. I used to pray, God help me, I want to become an accountant. I want this. So I found myself lost at that time, because I felt as if that I had no purpose, I had no direction, my life was just a mess. So I cried, and I remember those prayers to say, but I once trusted God with my life, with these plans that I have, and then He opened doors for me, because even for me to go through to university, it was a miracle, because my parents, they can't pay for school fees. The way God came through for me, I remembered how He provided a bursary just out of nowhere. I remember how He provided registration money, how things, even when seems like there was no solution, but a solution would come. But I cried that night and said, but if God could do it for me, then it means then now I must change my life. I must go back to the basics, I remember I cried that night. It was on a Saturday night. The next morning, I woke up, I said, today I'm going to church. After so many years, today I'm going to church. I just want to rededicate my life to God and then pick up the pieces. And so that was just the first step for me. Things did not change at that point in time, but I think it was just a turning point for me.
Emabe, meaning that agree or whole church boy.
Yeah.
Ne?
Yeah.
So now after Otomo Kraspani, you are working, right?
Yeah.
Things are going well now. On a letteransia, how you're driving.
Yeah.
So your relationship with God was affected.
It was affected too much because you know how all church boy, all church boy. There are certain things that you can't do them, because brother, people it's or no, you can't drink, you can't. There's no sex before marriage. You grew up with all these rules in place. You grew up with, even though sometimes you want to do these things, but because of the faith and what you believe in, you are restricted to doing that. So I think access to money and also maybe freedom or what, but my relationship with God just got affected.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then do you think, or if your relationship with God was not affected, nkabe dilo di sa tlhakatlhakana?
No, nkabe di sa tlhakatlhakana because I think I would have taken better decisions.
Okay.
I think the decisions not to say hore ke blame a situation. I blame the decisions taken at that point in time, because like I used to blame a lot of things to say maybe or maybe it's because of I did not have a father, I did not have you understand, but ultimately it boils down to decision making.
Sure.
I'm the one who took those decisions, and every decision that you take, it has its results, it has its consequences, so you have to stand for them.
I love what you are saying because, one of the statements that I say to people, Hansi Gore, your decisions decide your future.
Yes.
So you started going to church.
I started going to church.
Yeah.
That was a turning point. Even though at that point in time, because I grew up in church, I know church dynamics. I didn't want to be involved in anything else. I just wanted to go to church, pray, worship, listen to the word, and then ultimately that's when I decided to come. And I came to your church specifically, Kudipompom, because at that point in time I had no transport our church. So I was like, okay, since there is transport to church, let me go. And then church, then slowly but surely, my faith was revived. I started gaining my confidence, even though I got reminded of who I am. Because I remember there was this one season, I'm not sure if you still remember, there was this 1 year, there was a theme for the year. Okay. It was shape, align, and direct. It was 2018.
Sure.
Yeah, that year was when things changed for me. Shape, align, direct. God shaped me, align me, and direct me.
Yeah, and the emphasis there was I remember the emphasis was your next level requires a new shape.
Yes.
Shape now. But if you want to grow, if you want to get to the next level, it means you're going to you're gonna have to allow God to shape you.
Yes.
And at times, how do me fella how no raka shape the current shape?
Next. Yes. So you have to break, because if shape shape like if you look at Mopa, how warmer. And then when you have to reshape that thing, you have to break it, and that process of breaking is not something say simple. It's very tough.
So look, I'm seeing here it's like life I get. So hasne da, like I mean the follower's perspective can be like I decide to give up. Because now I'm going through a lot, I've done this, or you can decide to blame society, the church, background, and so on, right? So now I want you to tell me about that leader's perspective that you had. Remember, you are from the finance background, and for you to start Sihle Investment Consulting, because you are dealing with finance there.
Yes.
So what triggered that, that leader in you? Because honestly speaking, you had to be a leader to say, I can't be here, I can't feel sorry for myself. I don't need pity and sympathy. Yeah.
I think it's a lot of working chain of events that triggered that leader in me.
Okay.
It's a chain of events. One, the issue that I'm now a father. Okay. Now that I'm a father, that triggered a lot inside of me to say, if I'm a father, my son is gonna grow up, and when he grows up, what kind of example or what kind of a template am I putting for him?
Yeah.
You understand? Because as someone who grew up not knowing his father, that for me was motivation enough to say, you know what, if ever I have to make things happen, let me do them for my son.
Sure.
You understand? So that was the biggest motivation that I had was my son. Yeah, because even when it came later on, when I started my company, the name Sihle, my son's name is Sihle.
Okay.
You understand? So that's why I named my consulting firm after him, because the motivation came, or rather, let me say, what triggered me was because I'm a father, and as a father, I have to set a template. I have to set a standard or something that must pull me out of this situation. Another thing also that helped me, because I'm a firstborn. You know, when you are a firstborn, you carry a lot of responsibility, because now you become a leader in your family, especially when I grew up as my mom was a single parent, and then because I'm a firstborn, I've got siblings that are looking up to me.
Sure.
You know, and then now that you've got these siblings that are looking up to you, it means that now you also have that responsibility to make sure that whatever you do, you also make sure that your family is covered. So I think the basis of what I'm trying to say is that family was the one that really helped me to push and pull myself out of that situation. And I saw a leader in me, because, you know, like I said, a chain of events. A leader's character and a leader's attitude, you develop it with experience. You understand? So, growing up in church, I developed this thing of speaking in front of people. I learned to speak in front of people at church, because I used to maybe perform drama at Sunday school, and then sometimes when you're at school, they'll tell you, no, come share a word at assembly. Then I'll have that confidence, you know. And then because now all of those smaller things, they helped to develop that character of a leader inside of me.
So the point of you being a father, the father, Corey, you did not want to be a generational failure.
No.
Then I was model Sihle Investment.
Yeah, I think Sihle Investment, even though when the idea was not, at that point in time, I was not sure what I was doing. It was not even also like, no, Katoma company, sharp and stuff like that. No, I was looking for employment. You know, I tried to apply. I think I sent over 5,000 applications of CVs, and, you know, trying to knock at different doors, but it was not happening, you see. And then if you try that route, but it's not happening, then there's something that came inside me to say, man, if you're trying this thing and it doesn't work, rather look what is around you. Sure. You know, use what's around you to create what you need. So I started looking, instead of looking for solutions outside, I started looking internal to say, what skills do I have? What knowledge do I have? I mean, I went to school, you know, I worked at a bank for a couple of years. You know, I know a bit of things here and there. So I started saying, okay, let me register companies. So someone said he wanted to do a company registration. I was like, I know how to do that thing.
Yeah.
So I started registering, just simple service, registering companies. Okay, and then also I started attending seminars, leadership seminars. You know, I was taught about branding, personal development, and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I can brand this thing of company registrations in a way that, you know, I can market it and sell it to people.
Yeah.
Then that's how the company was born. I started doing registrations, and after doing registrations, people come say, man, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you apply for tenders? How do you? Then I saw a gap to say, oh, okay. Since well, I'm from a banking industry, and then I know about this financial industry as well. So if someone opens a business, it doesn't end there. What else is needed? Compliance is needed. Others are applying for tenders. So that's how I started. But at that point, I was not aware that what I'm doing is actually a business.
Yeah.
But later on, I started to realize, but no, man, I can package these things nicely. Why not register a company as well, you know? And then from there, that's how Sihle Investment Consulting was born.
Look, I want to go back just a little bit. So tell me, azangwa fitla pointing yana mono nyako raha bucket nyana where you wanted to kill yourself nyana. Yeah.
Yo, I those thoughts they did cross my mind. They did cross my mind a lot of times, especially that time when things were bad, very, very, very bad. But what kept me afloat, like I said, was I can't go out like that, man. You know, what will my child, Bonaki, I'm gonna leave my child in an even more worse situation.
Yeah, because I'm asking you that because I know there might be someone, you know, or to give up. You know, we lose hope in life. In fact, life it's full of pressure.
Too much.
You know? And I'm listening to you saying, how Spanish fella, you had a child. Number two, you are a firstborn. So that on its own, it's pressure.
It's pressure.
Yeah. So what would you say to that person?
I would say, you know, there's a time, there are seasons in life, you know. I would say probably what you're going through is a phase.
Sure.
Because life is all about seasons. And, you know, it may sound like cliche when I'm saying this because you are inside that situation. It might sound like, the man will because you're not maybe the sharp. Now I'm feeling this thing. Now I'm feeling pressure. Now this situation it's facing me direct. So it's easier maybe for him to say it. But that's why I'm saying, or it might sound like I'm just saying. But
sure.
What you need to understand is that life has seasons. Understand? Life has seasons, and then you need to know that at that point in time where you are, it's a season, and season has an end. And then at the end of the season, there are lessons that you will come out of them.
Sure.
Probably what you are going through is shaping you into what is required in the next season that you are going into. Yeah. Looking back now at that phase in my life, I realized that a strong character was born out of me because now I can stand pressure. Even when there is no money in the company to pay salaries, I know I've survived situations where there is no money, there is too much pressure. You know, when people are speaking bad about you, when people, because of that season, the skin becomes thicker. Yeah. Understand? You are able to stand in the midst of a storm. So just ride the storm. If you are in that situation, just learn to find peace and then knowing that it will come to an end.
So tell me, I think this question is very interesting. Hano spana go banking, zaganete.
Yeah.
Dia tlaka. Yeah. So no start a company. Yeah. Zagayate.
Yeah, but
so I want to know because issue agree with Hazagaite. So what's the difference now? Like what is it that you had to do to build your capacity or one talent are to say all worry tatile chalete rafo itsenang
askanya because yes, I see where you're going with that question because you won't fall in the same trap twice, you know. You must learn. Okay. You must learn that where did I falter? Where did I go wrong? I realized that at that time, the decisions they were reckless decisions. I think maybe if one were to put it, maybe per se, you know, they were childish decisions.
Okay.
And then I've had to learn because I know the impact wrong financial decisions. So now I'm wiser because of I've seen what bad financial decisions can lead up to. So no, I'm able to know to say, okay, just because maybe we had a good month or we had a good first quarter or what, it doesn't necessarily mean that now we must spend all the money that we have. You understand? You have to know that you are running a business. Business requires cash flow, and then you have to have savings. You have to know that sometimes there will not be money available, so your cash reserves need to be spot on.
So in short, you have to build strong systems.
Yes. You have to build strong systems that make sure they protect you, and they protect also even your finances as well.
Sure.
Yeah, no. That you know, the other thing is I don't want to see myself going back to that phase in my life, but I'm also mindful of the fact that, you know, God works in mysterious ways. You know, like I said, seasons and seasons change, and then looking at the growth that one has experienced over the years and experiencing these different seasons, I know at any time there is another season that can come into my life that might also prepare me to another season in life as well. I'm also mindful of that. But what I'm saying is that what I've learned has built capacity. I think the capacity is enough to also go into another crisis in life, knowing that I'm going to come out of that crisis again.
Like a crisis, since on a vision crisis. Yeah.
Either in business, if especially if you are in business, then if there are no crises, then you are not in business.
You know, remind me of one old man. Hakithoma in the ministry. Kagiso, you know, as long as you are coming to the ministry, you need to know, for number one, a man who lacks integrity will always divert his destiny. Okay, so integrity is very key. So while listening to that old man, I was like, okay, integrity, get the notes, you know, kelokela everything more. Number two, as long as you are in the ministry, you need to know that trouble is part of the ministry. If you don't get used to it, you will think you are not called. You will think you are not called. And I took those words. You know, later when challenges came, I realized that, actually, every promotion that comes, every promotion that comes, there is no morning without night. There is no summer without winter. So it's good to understand how crises are good. The only thing is to know how to lead effectively in times of crisis, and to know what do you have to do. You know, there is a quote in the Bible. The Bible says, the sons of Issachar, they had the understanding of the times. So they had the understanding of the times, and they knew what Israel ought to do in those times. So it's very important for you to know, okay, ha situation is so nako I must withdraw maybe and go develop myself, or nako maybe I need to spend too much time with my family and make sure that we bond. You know, I believe that it is important for one to understand the times and know what you have to do in those times. Because if you don't understand the times, it becomes difficult for you to know what you have to do in those times. It's like during COVID. I mean, COVID was a storm for everybody. You know, everything was standstill.
It was disruption.
I mean, people were so discouraged, and we had to know, or to have the understanding of the times, and we had to know what we have to do in those times. Because I've discovered that most people, you know, most businesses were born during that season. So it's very key that one needs to know, you know, and what you have to do in that time, you know.
No, what you're saying, you're right, man. Because if you don't have an understanding of that, you are going to be very frustrated.
Sure.
I'm sure there are a lot of viewers and a lot of from the audience that are going through a lot of challenges, a lot of crisis, because I think I've even learned that, crisis is necessary.
Yeah.
Crisis is necessary, especially if you are someone who's into business. Business has taught me a lot because also on the issue of faith.
Yeah.
I think I hear you pastors preach a lot about faith, but if you were to take congregants and say, run a business, they will learn what faith is, because you have to believe that things will work out. You understand? You have to believe that, what does the Bible say? It says it's the evidence of
Things hoped for.
things, yes, and then and the substance of, because sometimes there's no money.
Sure.
But at the end of the month, there are bills that needs to be paid. You know that, I'm not sure where money is going to come from. I'm not sure who's going to buy the service that I'm selling. I'm not sure if maybe you're baking bread, you're not sure who's going to buy that bread.
Yeah.
That's when faith kicks in, because then now you see it practically. So you understand. So just to come back to that point, to say, the times that we find ourselves in, we have to have an understanding of that time. Because if you don't understand that time, you will be frustrated. I was frustrated in a sense that sometimes when God calls you to a certain direction, while we're now only this direction, then it also brings frustration in a way. So it's important to understand the season that you find yourself in, more life in your house, then it will elevate you, then it will help you to make better decisions as well.
Yeah. So now, because your story, I hear you talking much about, faith. You also talking about when you started, you spoke about hola without timer, all those crises and all those challenges, because it looks like this thing has been a pattern that has been there for generations, and it looks like Maya fela yalo. So my question to you is, what are you doing as a leader, or what is your plan, in preserving the male seed?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
The male seed.
Of course, because one thing I've discovered, and I think le volume it's because I'm very concerned about the male seed. If you check, prisons are full of,
even suicide stats.
Yes, suicide stats, Gemajida. You look at a lot of things.
Drugs.
Yeah.
It's male, I think, your question is very powerful, in a sense that, as someone who grew up as Natayama, like you said, it says a lot that we have a lot of responsibility, especially as fathers, to make sure that we preserve the male seed. I think, what am I doing? I think, one, I'm trying by entrusting God by all that I have, that I set the right example to, especially to my son.
Sure.
Because I have a male child, and then it's easier for children to do what you do than to do what you say,
Sure.
Because sometimes we tell our children that, don't do this, do that, don't do that, but they look at your actions. You understand? So I think also, because you asked me general what I'm doing, I think also what I'm doing is that I'm taking up space, man. I'm someone who's very ambitious. I'm someone who's working very hard to make sure that, whatever that I plan, it comes into fulfillment. It comes to pass, and then that also, even those, because sometimes I think people look at your life and then it becomes a sermon, it becomes an encouragement or an inspiration to them to say, man, lebella mjita wa ka mo next door, lebella ngwana sibani bani, lebella, because they are looking at your life, they are looking the way you are leading your life, the way you are doing things, and then it becomes some sort of a template or some sort of a way that they are supposed to model themselves after as well. So I think that's pretty much what I can say I'm doing. You know, there is a lot of responsibility amongst us as leaders to make sure that, you know, we inspire a generation that comes behind us, to make sure that they look up onto us to say, okay, if Kagiso Malepe can make it, you know, coming from Dipompong, if Sanele Msibi can make it coming from Zgandaf, go Winterfeld, you know, it means it's also possible for those small boys who are surrounded by, you know, all negative things, all poverty around them, the lack of father figures around them, you know, the drug abuse, the drunkardness. So that's what I can say I'm doing.
Tell me about the importance of forgiveness.
Yeah, that one is very, 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 very important.
The reason why I'm asking is the reason why
I think I know why you're asking.
So yes.
You're asking because, you know, you've seen. I think you've seen the results of it. Even when I share my story, I think the first time, a lot of times when I used to share my story, I used to be very emotional because it cut deep in. It's something that I carried a long time, you know. But then now it is important for you to forgive because you free yourself. You know, you free yourself from morwalo o rweleng o longoro o way down.
Okay.
You understand? I had to learn forgiveness to say, because, you know, even my father's family side, you know, I was angry at them at some point to say, yeah, but they knew this, even though Chocoface is no longer, they knew he had a child somewhere, but, you know, they never showed up, they never, you know. So I had that thing in me, and then I never realized how painful it was until I've learned to let it go. And then after letting it go, man, you are free. You are free, you know, you become so light, you know, you don't have any grudges, you know, I think even when you pray basically knowing that, you know what, your heart is at the right place.
Sure.
It's important to forgive. And then sometimes it's not easy to forgive, even though we may speak about the importance of forgiving, but it's not easy to forgive. I mean, if you are someone who's been raped, you're someone who's experienced a lot of trauma, and then now here's Sanele says, no, forgive, just forgive. It's not easy. I don't think it's something that's easy to do, but it's necessary for you to do it, because it helps free you, so that then now you can move on with your life and then make sure that you live up to your full potential.
You know, when you talk about forgiveness, I remember, I think it was around 2012, you know, early days when I started the church. And I would preach powerful to the church, you know, pray for people would get healed. But then the problem was, each and every time disrespecting you know, when they were sick, I would lay hands on them. But whenever I feel like disrespecting
I know.
You know the story, right? Yeah, and yeah, the story, it was not good. It was that's why I'm asking you about forgiveness. You know, at some point, ke trapile this young man, ke mtrapetse di homework tsa hae, ne? Kore ka mlata ko ga bone, ka mtrapa ha ke fetsa ka mlokela mo butung ya koloi. And I went with him to the office. Ha ke fitla, hey, my God. You know, forgiveness, it's very important, because if you don't, you're going to bleed on wrong people, and then you may find yourself, you know, I mean, the fact that ke metala dibuka tsa ke feel hore tsentso tlhokomela future ya hao, but how I'm doing it was wrong. You get my point? Kamtrapa. Then when I left there, I mean, I was like, you know that boy, ke mo discipline. I went koskolon sa haki fitla, I think after 2 months or so, the maxi tsa hae di nameletse. My mind tells me, or I'm doing something right. You understand? Look, the painful part was, at what expense?
Yes.
So And there were days I remember I was preaching, go church. I asked a simple question. And I said to people, Kere, tell me, bazalwane hore, ke mang obileng ashapa ke lightning, obileng abona lesedi on his way to Damascus. Then the church kept quiet. I got angry. I told everybody, pack your bags. Everybody stand up. You know the story. Eh? Everybody stand up. And I said, get up. And everybody left the church. That day, I remember when, hey, my God, when I was on the freeway coming back, I was fighting with people on the road. I'm a preacher of the gospel, but I'm harboring this anger. Do you understand? I did not know this anger is from, me saying that, because I was saying, my father, I know that he's alive, but to me he's dead. Yes. But I did not know that it is important for me to forgive that man, because what did he do? Me not forgiving that man made me to be aggressive towards people. I had to build systems, setting protecting. Once I sense any sign of rejection, I would disappear. That thing was destroying me, destroying my relationships, So I feel that when we are talking about the issue of fathers, people need to also be careful to understand, or some of the people that we are angry with were actually not fathered. Some of them, during apartheid era, never high during month end, they were never there for their kids, So it's important that we get to a point where we say, I forgive you. I mean, when I went to my father, if not 3 years or 4 years ago, I went to him to say to him, brah, you know what, remember hore, and each and every time I kopana lena, it would be like, eta or grand, sure. Then that was it. And not saying anything. To me it was Eddie Brow grand, sharp, that's it. Until the other day I realized, and it was after I had a conflict with somebody, I realized, and the conflict was, the person asked me about him. Eveki responda, then the person said, you are angry at that guy. I got even angry. Who are you to tell me about this man? And I went home. When I got home, I realized I need to forgive the guy. I had to go to him and say to him, sir, I am sorry for being angry at you for abandoning me. That humility of me going and saying, I am sorry, the conversation that we had set me free. Everything was lifted. I mean, when that year, there was a year where I declared it as the year of embracing change. And I took a book. I was writing down, okay, Kagiso, what kind of a human being are you? And I wrote, you are rude, you are arrogant, you fight. Because there were days I would be driving on the road, taxi driver and driver bad. Taxi, I don't even know roads. Where is Tunya but my brain at that time tells me, you know what? My name is Kagiso Malepe. Yes, but by the grace, I had to face myself, be honest with myself. The greatest gift that one can give to himself or herself, and this is what I said, face yourself, face your enemies. Your enemy may be anger, it may be that arrogance, it may be, that bitterness. Face your enemies, face your worst fear. To some, our worst fear may be rejection. You get my point? And after facing your worst enemies, you need to make sure that you face your fears, because there are a lot of things that we are scared of simply because of our background. I want you to give us your last words. From your story, what did you learn that you want our viewers to learn? And from this conversation, I want you to wrap it up. Give us. I know our viewers, some of them are at home. Give us a take home. Something yes.
Okay, mine is very simple. Is that let us not give up.
Sure.
Let us not give up. In as much as there are a lot of challenges that we are going through, let us not give up. But let us be reminded that the one that has begun the good work in us will see it come to pass.
Sure.
From my story, what you can take away is perseverance, because I think in life there are a lot of obstacles that stand before us and where we want to go. But if you persevere, you always find a way to overcome any challenge that comes before you. Then you will overcome that challenge. You know, as we are speaking through my story, you know, we've all have these excuses to give up.
Yeah.
You know, we've got valid reasons to say, you know, I've got no money, I've got no parents, you know, I can't speak English, I'm not qualified, I'm not this, I'm not that. So I don't see reason enough why I should continue with life maybe, or with goals that I have, or with ambition that I have. But what I want you to take away from, especially the viewers at home, is that take a lesson of endurance to say, let us persevere, let us stand strong, let us be grounded, especially in the Lord, because I know your followers, there are people who understand a relationship with God, you know. Let us be reminded of our relationship with God and then never give up, because, hey, you know, life is full of challenges, it's full of mysteries, it's full of all these things, but holding on, it's what is important.
How? Yes.
Come on, okay. I'm Sanele Msibi on all what is it called, social media platforms.
Yeah.
But then now for business purposes, you can reach us on Sihle Investment Consulting on all business platforms. Our website is www.sihleinvestmentconsulting.co.za. You can reach us if you want to book a consultation. We offer free 30 minutes consultations for businesses and for individuals as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate just to talk to us, share with us your story.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I also appreciate the platform and the opportunity to come and share. I was a bit nervous at the end, but at the beginning, but as we went on, I think, you know, it kicked in to say, yeah, man.
No, thank you so much. We really appreciate. Next time, Haro Twaraka Mahala, Rekopa Hobono.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot.
Yes, to our wonderful family, Leadership Perspective family, I just want to say to you, thank you so much for tuning in. You know, this story really inspires one, and you realize behind every impressive story every impressive glory is an expensive story. You know, life is a journey. Potholes and caves, but look, you don't stop because obetile pothole. You need to continue. Once you do that, I want to encourage you today by saying these words: don't give up. As he says, don't give up. Remember, you are a leader, and leaders don't make excuses, but they make adjustments. From me, Kagiso Malepe, and the team, we are out. God bless you.